Okay, cool. So we're recording now. So like we said, we'll plan to make this recording public. If anything gets said that you think shouldn't be public, let me know right away and we'll stop the recording right then and then we'll start another recording at that point. Sound
Okay,
good?
sounds good.
So if we make it the whole way through, we'll just make the whole thing public. Sound good?
Yep.
Okay, great, great. First, I want to make sure I get your name right. How do I say your name?
Aryonna Renouf.
Okay, great. Aryonna. And so you go by Ari for short, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Or Aryonna or Ari? What should I call you?
I like Ari, and it's easier for most people to say.
Okay, cool. And also, it actually happens to be my brother's name. Ari is his name.
So that'll be easy to remember then.
Yeah, exactly. And possibly an interesting coincidence. I notice those sorts of things, so I appreciate that. So great to connect with you, Ari. I really appreciate your interest in Uniting for Action. So I'm here to hear, all about what you're interested in, where you're at in your academic career, what you're interested in terms of going forward, what you're looking for out of your practicum project and what you think we may be able to provide for you. And essentially, we always like to tune into win-wins, and so I want to start by what are your wins? What are you looking for? What are you wanting to create in the world? Then I'll share where we're at and what we're looking for in terms of wins. And we'll see if there's a match between what you're looking for and what we're looking for. Does that sound good?
That sounds great.
Okay, awesome. Cool. So tell me who you are, what you're up to, and, let's start with that.
Yeah, so a little bit about me. I'm new to the Colorado area. I got my undergraduate in biological sciences. For a long time, I was really interested in veterinary medicine. And then
Where did you get your undergrad?
At Alfred University in New York.
In New York. Okay, got it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that in New York, or is it somewhere outside of the city?
Do you know where Rochester is?
Not really.
Buffalo.
I know it's north. I don't know. I couldn't find it on a map.
Alfred is like the middle of New York, but like in the south. So not near the city, not near Buffalo, like the middle of nowhere, really.
Okay, got it. Okay, cool. I've got that reference now. And did you grow up in the New York area, or where did you? Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I've been around the Buffalo area my whole life, the Buffalo Niagara Falls area. Yeah, I loved it there, but I came out here for a spring break one year during college and just absolutely fell in love with just all of what Colorado is. But I mean, so I knew I'd be coming back. I didn't know for what until I got introduced to the One Health perspective and the idea that human health is also reliant on animal health and environmental health. And that kind of threw a wrench in my career plans because I just fell in love with public health. And so now I'm at the University of Colorado at Anschutz, and I'm in the first year of my MPH in epidemiology. Yeah, so I'm looking for a summer practicum. I guess my main interests are infection prevention, but also environmental health and climate change and how that affects human health as far as my academic interests. But what I'd really like to gain, I guess qualitatively from a practicum is really kind of what you guys offer. I am not the best networker. And that is something that I absolutely need to improve on, where to make these connections, how to make these connections, and how to make these connections work, I guess. And so I would really love to be able to do that. And also, I guess, I looked a little bit into the different teams that you have. And I really like the research team and the production team. I like the concept of the production team and that you're creating things for different populations to consume. And that's something that I would love practice with. And then the research team, of course, with my epi background. I love playing around in data and figuring things out.
Great. Great. I really appreciate that. I'm taking a couple notes here. I guess you have to like that if you're going to be an epi major, right?
Yes.
The emphasis. That's great. I appreciate that. I appreciate you doing the background research to see what we've done and what we've done with the teams. And just to let you know right off the bat, things have been a little bit different with our structure. I think I mentioned in the video, I don't know if you saw that part where for the most part, we haven't been having teams. Well, we haven't been having teams of students this semester. We actually essentially stopped doing the student program for a semester to kind of regroup and get our products together and focus on our leadership council and that sort of thing. Just now I'm starting to think about really ramping up our recruitment. We actually haven't been doing any recruiting for this summer yet, other than the fact that CU reached out to us, and we've had a number of practicum students from CU over the past semesters. So I felt like we really, ought to at least, respond and see what's out there and create this connection. So I appreciate that. So far, you're the first person to respond to that. So that's really great. And I really appreciate your interest in this. So I'm going to kind of catch you up on where we've been at and what we're looking at doing going forward. I imagine that by the summer, we'll have our teams together again in some format. It's really just a matter of, we really need to bring in administrators and managers and build out a whole internal team in order to manage a much bigger team, right? Mm-hmm. And that's where, for the last year, I was being that person for all of the student teams. But by the end of last semester, I realized that I had to withdraw my self from that role, find somebody else to fulfill that role for us and build out the bigger corporation. So I'm going to catch you up on some things now that have been evolving since even the presentation a couple of weeks ago. And again, tune back into what your interests are and see where the overlap is. I guess the first question I want to ask is, last year, we had a number of students from CO. And by the way, to mention, I have followed a similar path to you, where my grandparents had a cabin in Colorado. My grandfather got remarried when I was 11. So from the time I was 11, every year I used to go to their cabin outside of Boulder. It's like 40 minutes outside of Boulder up in the mountains. And so going there every summer for a couple of weeks every summer, I just fell in love with it so much. So I ended up going to school in Boulder myself. I grew up in South Florida. I went to school in Boulder, CU Boulder, so I'm an alum. I had to leave when I graduated because I was still living the fraternity life. As long as I kept living in Boulder, all my fraternity brothers were still there. So, I had to leave Boulder just to get out, but I love Boulder. It's still like, where I feel like is my home, and I'll be back again at some point. So I appreciate how Colorado spoke to you as it spoke to me. So getting back to where we're at with everything right now, let me show you, what Uniting for Action looks like as a corporation at the moment and kind of fill in some of the gaps. And then we'll, circle back to the specific, practicum that you could do and what the work would look like and that sort of thing. This is how we're describing our organization, the corporation as an organization. So Uniting for Action is a membership organization of people who want to work together to create results. And Uniting for Action provides solutions. So we provide systems and solutions that allow us to work together more effectively and efficiently. And you've seen some of that, and I'm going to show more of that. And then also we provide support. We provide access to tools and providers committed to optimizing our results. So that's something that I realized along the way, both with our clients, with our students, basically, and with myself especially, everyone that we're working with, we're all limited in how much we can use solutions and use tools at our disposal based on whatever our internal obstacles, challenges, limiting patterns, limiting beliefs, whatever it is, wherever the limits of what we're dealing with are. So we're really focusing on that support side. So I want to kind of emphasize that because that's a big part of what we're growing out. Coaches and trainers and yogis and meditation and nutrition and exercise, whatever, everybody that can help anybody in any area so that we can all be optimizing our performance as humans, essentially, right? So we're providing the tools to optimize performance around these issues. So with the video, you saw the manifestation process, right? And that's what we've been really focusing on as a process to really support essentially going from saying what we want to getting what we want, right? And I'm going to share a couple of details with that. And also want to kind of preface by saying, as I mentioned in the email, I'm going to have my meeting with our 2 interns at 3:30 to really go over like some of the training right now and what we're doing and all of that. So if you want to stick around for a little bit, you're welcome to see some of that as well as we get into like the nitty-gritty details. But what we're doing right now is we're looking for ways to apply the manifestation process to clients, and that can be any clients. And so, for example, both of the students we have now are public health students as well from Ohio State University. And they're working with one of our clients, Diane Dixon, who has a nonprofit where she works with people with disabilities. And she's putting together a sensory art exhibit expo, basically. And they're working with her to put all of that together. So what that looks like, just very quickly, when we look at it from a mind map perspective, and let me pull up the mind map here. So the mind map is the first part of the manifestation process. I'm going to show you also where we've been automating the manifestation process. And part of it too, as I'm going to this, I want to get a sense, I was starting to mention before, with some of the other students that we've had from CU in particular, they came on, we set up a practicum like you're doing for the summer, but when we had contact earlier, some of them came on board earlier to start working earlier, even before the practicum started. So do you have a certain start date that you would be starting, or are you available to start, soon if you're interested in working with us? What's your time schedule like in terms of what you're looking to do?
I'm relatively flexible. I mean, I will be most available over the summer, but really I'm pretty flexible as far like if there was like interest now and we both, had, what's the word I'm looking for? We could both win-win and help each other. Then yeah, no, I could start whenever. There's no real concrete time frame.
Okay, it's good for me to know because again, especially as I'm about to have this training session and other things, I want to get a sense of like how to speak to you, because if there's a possibility you're working on this next week, that's one thing. If it's another 2 months from now, it's another thing. So I want to make sure, we're understanding where you may fall in the flow. So your answer is perfect. That's really great. We'll just see how everything flows together at this point. So this is the example of what they're working on now. And then you can see kind of all the branches in the tree to get an idea. And one of the things, I'm trying to see where it is on here, they're realizing that they're going to focus on TikTok quite a bit. That's going to be one of the areas of emphasis for the students, because Kumba, who's working on the project, one of our interns, she's very adept in TikTok. So she's going to help train them up on how to use TikTok as an example, as one of the examples. And again, you can watch the video of that whole session where they get into that. What we're doing, just to show you what the pages look like, is I'm starting to build these do-it-yourself resources. So let me show you what it looks like. So we're providing the manifestation process self-service to full service. So self-service is where we're giving them all these videos and tutorials, and I'm going to show you more pages where we're mapping everything out. So again, by recording all of these processes, then we can share them with people and edit them. So now people don't have to have me leading them through it or some other person. They can just watch the videos and go through the process themselves. So we're packaging everything so that everybody can do everything self-service. And then on the full service side, we have analysts that's begun with me. I've been the first analyst. Now we have Emiliano, who's being our second analyst. I'm going to train up Kumba, possibly Afomia. I'm being analyst as well. You could potentially be an analyst. An analyst is the person that's starting with the client, starting with the mind map, right? And we'll have different levels of analysts and different types of tasks. We break it down into nano actions. So everything we do is a different nano action. So you can be a specialist in one nano action. You don't have to be a specialist in everything. That's kind of part of the principle. So with the self-service to full service, this is essentially a diagram of what we're doing. And this is regardless of whether it's self-service or full service. I'm just going to walk you through this quickly. So you, the client, is specifying, you're not the client in this case, but our clients are specifying and clarifying their intentions, right? And that ends up being what they share as their visions, right? And I'll show you some pages where we've done this. And then they identify what they need to achieve their visions. And those are the resources that they need. So, okay, in this case, again, looking at Diane's need, she's putting together this event. She needs some outreach and marketing and, TikTok and Facebook and Instagram and that sort of thing. So she has needs for graphic designers or social media managers or, video editors or whatever the different pieces are that she needs in order to fulfill that part of the project, right? So those are all the individual resources that she's defining. Then she's specifying and quantifying what she has to offer. And those offers, she's essentially providing inspiring / incentivized offers to the different resources that they need, she needs. So again, traditionally in our society, this is, money. Like, I have this amount of money to pay you for this job, right? And this is like our traditional negotiation. But we're broadening it much more because there's a lot of people doing a lot of things where they don't necessarily have money, but they have something else to trade in exchange, right? And so the system allows all of this, exchange to be happening, so that really the goal, what you're looking for out of this process, is to create agreements. So the client and the resources, once the client identifies all the specific needs, all the different resources that they have, if they can create agreements with every one of those different groups, with every one of those prospect groups, then they have a potential to actually achieve the vision, right? But if they aren't putting, solutions into all of these places, then they don't have a complete solution. So this is really like a reality check. Like, either you check all the boxes and you get all of this done, or your vision just isn't going to become a reality because this is what you need to do to get it done. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So we're providing this as a structure to really, create that for people. And now, as you've gotten a sense, this can be applied, to anything, to any vision. And that's where what we're going to be doing with students going forward in a generic way is students are going to have the opportunity, interns are going to have the opportunity to, work with Uniting for Action as Uniting for Action being a client. So Uniting for Action being the client, we need to build out these pages, for our clients and for the business. So we're being the client in this case. Then we also have these other clients, like, just to show you a couple. Hold on a second. Yeah, so let me show you one other and then I'll show you these. Any questions about anything so far?
Sort of. I know you said that you're not necessarily doing the teams right now, but if the teams were to come back, how do those different teams fit into like the 3 sections of Uniting for Action's framework, where it's like the services and the resource, like where do those teams fit in?
Yeah, good question. So let's go back again to that image so we can look at it. Okay, so the teams are going to be essentially working along all of these lines. This is all these arrows is what you can look at, because basically what the teams are going to be doing, as they did before, is the teams are going to be working on refining the solutions, right? And then also helping to deliver the solutions to the members or to the clients, right? So you like you were just saying, you're interested in networking and being a part of that sort of thing. So developing your skills in those areas. So then we would be potentially looking at what solutions that you want to be a part of, what client you want to work with. And that's why I'm kind of mentioning this client model, because essentially, Uniting for Action is a client, Diane is a client. I'm about to show you how I'm being a client now for the system as well, and the project that I'm going to work on. And so you get to choose essentially what client you want to work with. And then as you're deciding what client you want to work with, client or clients, then you're deciding, how you're helping to either develop the solutions with the team members, deliver the solutions to the clients, through the teams, work on the support side with the teams, work on delivering the support through the teams. So the teams work, to essentially be the organization. Right now, we're starting to focus on building out our org structure more beyond the interns. So for the last year up until December, the entirety of the org structure was the student interns. It was just me and the student interns, a couple other professionals that were supporting, but it was really just us and the teams working together. Now I'm focusing on building out an org structure with different executives and different people in different positions. And we're really going to do that quickly because I'm about to share with you how we're about to explode, and you'll see how that kind of ties into everything. So did that answer your question?
Perfectly, yes.
Okay, great. So I went through this manifestation process that I just showed you with Electric Token. So that was our first paying client that we did this process with. And so we went through David. I spent an hour. This is the full video here that you can see that we went and talked for 56 minutes. He's the operations guy for Electric Token. Electric Token is a digital hub leveling up the NFT metaverses while bridging the digital divide. They publish and curate unique NFT experiences, amplifying BIPOC creators. So we went through and we, built out his mind map for his organization. Then from that, I pulled these video clips, serving their clients, serving established communities, producing Web3 solutions, seeking production support. And then he got into how they work with influencers. And then this is how we actually use the manifestation process to define what they're seeking, define what they're offering as an exchange, and also what they're willing to offer to others who can refer what they're looking for. So this is the standardization of what the needs are. So basically, as you were describing, if you were going to be in a networking position where you're outreaching to, let's say, people in the public health community about a certain issue that's being, that you're working on for a client or for yourself, potentially, if you want to be the client, then you are using this process to define what you're seeking and what's being offered, and then also what you can offer to others. And then what you're doing essentially is you get to have one conversation or a couple conversations with these different product prospects that you're working on talking with. And then now you've got video content that you can edit up and then send to other prospects. So you don't have to have 100 individual conversations with 100 different prospects. You just have conversations with 1 or 2 or 3, get all the content put together really nice, and now you send it to all of them. This process that I'm describing to you is the way that the whole world is going to start to be more efficient and more effective, because we're not operating in this kind of way right now in general as a society. There's no place that you can go to just see a dashboard of all of your friends' needs and send them what their needs are, and see what all this corporation's needs and send them what their needs are. So I want to share more and more and more, but we're getting a little pressed for time. So let me just kind of cut to the chase on a couple of things. Do you have a little time to spend with us in the next meeting so that I can give you more, or what's your time schedule?
So I don't want to be a bother, I guess. One of my study groups rescheduled for 1:45. So, but I would really love to hear more. Are you going to post it on YouTube?
Yeah, I will post the video of the meeting that we're about to have. Let me share a couple other pieces, and then maybe we can set up another time to keep talking, because I know we're not really complete yet. But let me just give you this sneak preview, because this is what's going to kind of really explode our operations in terms of, building out our teams and everything that we're doing. So just to be really clear, what I'm about to show you is not a Uniting for Action project, and I'll send you this page so you can see everything. So there's this distinction that we've come to along the way. Uniting for Action is a neutral, nonpartisan company that provides solutions for everybody, so anybody can use it. And at the same time, I've built Uniting for Action. I'm building all of these solutions because I want to create systematized ways to address our biggest challenges like climate and plastics and deforestation and health equity and social justice and on and on and on and on. So I have a lot of passion around a lot of issues myself. And so I am taking up one issue right now, which is going to, kind of take a lot of energy and build a lot of energy in use of the system. And that's what's happening in Ukraine, because I see what's happening in Ukraine as an assault against humanity. It doesn't matter to me that, I'm so far away in distance or I don't have relatives there now or whatever. To me, I feel just as assaulted. I can't say just as assaulted, but I want to defend myself, the other pieces of me that are the people in that country, right? And so, so what I'm doing is I'm using the Uniting for Action tools to show people how the tools can be used to create a mass movement, like overnight, essentially. And that's what we're going to start to do. So on this page, it actually gives you a history of when Uniting for Action was a very activist-oriented organization, because I built it to be, to support activists. And it's still built to support activists. It's just that Uniting for Action is not taking the activism role now. Uniting for Action is taking the platform building role. So I'll send you this page. It gets into all of these details so you can understand the foundations behind it. And there's more details that I'm going to add. But essentially, what it comes down to is this. I'll just play the short part of this video for you, and then you can see where we're going with this.
Sending your way, which actually put.
Since the Kremlin began its unprovoked invasion of Ukraine, many businesses are leaving Russia in protest. Companies like McDonald's, Starbucks, Intel, and Apple, an estimated 300 companies have withdrawn or significantly reduced their operations. And one professor at Yale has been keeping track of who is doing what. They also found several dozen companies have not pulled out of Russia, and they continue to operate there. Since the list has become so public, the Remains in Russia list has shortened, with more companies withdrawing from Russia because of public backlash. So to talk more about this, we'd like to bring in the man who created this list, Jeffrey Sonnenfeld. He is the Senior Associate Dean for Leadership Studies and a Lester Crown Professor in the Practice of Management at Yale University. Professor Sonnenfeld, welcome. Great to have you with us. So your list has gotten a lot of attention and has arguably helped convince companies like McDonald's that were originally on your list, which is one that you keep updating, to pull out of Russia. So my question to you is, what was your initial motivation behind drawing up this list of U.S. companies still doing business in Russia? What is the ultimate goal?
The ultimate goal is to help companies work in concert with the United States government and European and Australian governments around the world that have exacted these economic sanctions, but they rarely succeed completely alone. They need fairly universal support of the business community to truly paralyze an economy as is intended. That's what worked especially well in the late 80s with South Africa. It wasn't just that there were great economic.
So again, I'll send this to you so you can see more, but just in the interest of time, just to share with you. So I'm going to be getting in touch with Professor Sonnenfeld and working with different people to really start to show the world how to leverage its collective economic power, essentially. And so we've been seeing it in action, as he said, as these different corporations have been withdrawing based on public pressure. But there's still a number of corporations that have not withdrawn. So I'm going to create a campaign that's going to help bring awareness and essentially one by one have these different companies withdraw their financial support from the Russian government, essentially. So this is one example of the use of the system. Again, I'm being one client, and I want to be really clear about that because, again, you and others get to choose whether you want to work with me as a client or with Diane, or if you have your own project that you want to bring to the table and use the system for, then you can be a client using the system. So all of these options are on the table. And that's, you're getting a sense of what it looks like in terms of students working with clients directly, and then also working with Uniting for Action as a client to use these tools to build out the system. But in the end, what we're doing is we're really advancing the use of the system to be able to create results in the world. And you're getting to not only have a front row seat to it, but be a creator of it, be on the ground floor of actually showing the world how we start to create things and do things in a whole different way. So I'll just leave it at that for now, because I know, again, we can keep talking more. You want to share any thoughts that you have at this point about whether you're seeing a match with what you're doing and what your thoughts are about what you're looking for?
I mean, I think so. As far as like I said, like the networking thing for me is something that I feel personally I need to improve upon. So that of course is matched, but I really like the project that you're working on. It's not only interesting, but it's also, it like you said, it's calling attention and it's going to bring more eyes, I guess. So thank you. No, thank you so much for taking the time today to meet with me.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. Hi, Afami and Kumba, how are you guys? I'm just
Good,
finishing
how are
up.
you?
Doing great, doing great. I'm just finishing up with Ari here, who's interviewing with us. She's at Colorado School of Public Health, and we're talking about her potentially coming on to do her practicum with us and maybe even come on sooner. So we're just wrapping up with her and we're about to start our meeting. So anything else, Ari, that you want to say or share? I really appreciate what you did just share about that, and appreciate the resonance and appreciate you seeing the interesting use of the system, because that's essentially what we want to, we're about with that project that I just described. It's really relatively easy for us to start to be on like the national news and national programs and that sort of thing, just because there's not being like a voice for this and for the other pieces of it out in the world. There's actually a 20-page plan for a previous project that I was doing like this that's on that page that you'll get to see, and just all the different pieces. So again, we're teaching the world how to leverage all these tools that we have in our hand, that we just don't know how to use all of these tools yet. We don't have the infrastructure that allows all this to happen yet. So that's what we're focusing on now. And that's, again, if we can find the right fit for you, what you'll be being a part of as well.
Thank you again. No, seriously, thank you again. Yes. Is it possible at all to maybe, can I email you, or can we set up another time to chat? Because I would love to look over those resources again, and like the links that you're going to send me, just so I can, think more about it and yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do that. So in the email, go ahead and send me your phone number. Do you use WhatsApp?
Yes, I have it. Yep.
Okay, so I'll start sending some links via WhatsApp and email, and you can start to get up to speed with all of that. And then we'll set up another time to talk a little bit further and see where we can go from here. Sound good?
Yes, it sounds amazing. Thank you again for, taking the time to speak with me today. And I so appreciate it. And I will be in touch with you again soon.
Okay, sounds great. Great to connect with you, Ari. Thanks. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.